Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm SocietySucks and today I'm checking out why Scotland had to join England by CGP Grey. Obviously, there were a lot of wars between Scotland and England, but let's see why Scotland eventually did have to join Great Britain.
Back in the 1690s, there were only two countries on the island of Great Britain, the Kingdom of Scotland and the Kingdom of England. England and the other great European powers were doing rather well for themselves by expanding their empires.
They were getting colonies, yeah.
Scotland had no empire, but wanted to join in the game, and thus needed to establish a colony.
Oh, so Scotland was just
where to build it.
Getting left behind.
Scotland. She imagined the colony's strategic location would make trade with the Far East safer and faster by eliminating the long journey around the hazardous Cape of Good Hope and Cape Horn, where both wind and wave delight in smashing ships against the rock and ice. Who will lend me the money to make this great idea a reality? Asked Scotland.
Nobody.
No one was the answer. Instead of helping, the European empires started trade wars with Scotland to limit the power of their future rival. So poor Scotland had to fund the project herself. She gathered up all the money she could, literally put it all in a big box, and, capital thusly raised, sent off a colonial ship. £400,000, 8,000 kilometers, and 111 days later, 2,500 Scotsmen landed on the shores of Panama, named it New Caledonia, and immediately discovered a few small problems with their plan. First, the mountains on the western side of Panama were a wee bit larger than expected, making overland trade pretty much impossible. Even if they had thought of building a canal, the technology to do so was still 200 years away. Second, the woolen goods brought to trade with the locals were useless in the endless heat and humidity. Third, the Spanish conquistadors had already planted flags on the sandy beaches and weren't too happy to see the Scots arrive. And fourth, without
that's a problem.
supplies, diseases such as the perennial tropical dysentery spread quickly. 2 years and 2,000 dead Scots later, they abandoned the project. Now, this wasn't the first failed attempt at a Scottish empire. Early colonies had been tried and abandoned in Nova Scotia, New Jersey, and Carolina, but the Panama debacle was particularly devastating to Scotland.
I never even knew that Scotland tried to get any colonies.
Because she was overinvested. Remember that money in a box? Turns out it was a fifth the wealth of the whole country. Oops. Scotland's sudden impoverishment
and it's all just
gone. An opportunity for the Kingdom of England, who was growing increasingly worried that her neighbor to the north would ally with an enemy. England offered Scotland a deal that would reimburse Scotland for her losses if she voted for union. In 1707, Scotland agreed, and the Kingdom of Great Britain was born. While the surrender of independence was unpopular in Scotland, her economy improved with access to the once English, now British trade routes, and she played a formative role in what would soon be the largest empire in human history. That being said, still more than 300 years later, Scotland has never fully given up her national identity and thoughts of independence.
I do wonder if Scotland will eventually gain that independence. Personally, I don't see much of a reason for them to do so, other than just to get away from England itself. Actually, no, you know what, no. With how things are going in England, maybe Scotland is right to try and gain independence from the Union. So yeah, the Scottish had to join England because they really didn't have much of a choice. They failed with multiple attempts at making colonies, lost a shit ton of money, and the English just didn't want the Scottish to ally with France or a different enemy. Okay, so I just checked, and the last referendum for Scottish independence was in 2014, 12 years ago. At that time, they voted to stay, but it was only 55 to 45%. Well, 55.3 to 44.7. So it was pretty close. I wonder what would happen if they had a referendum now. Would it change more towards staying or leaving the Union? Also, looking at the map, I just realized there's an island called Shetland. Change the E to an I and you get Shitland. That's not important. I just thought it was interesting. Honestly, some would probably call me stupid for this, but I would say that during my lifetime, Scotland will eventually gain independence. I'm saying it within the next 50 or 60 years. I personally believe that the Scots will just want to finally leave and become their own country. Completely independent. But we'll see. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you want to see more reactions, check out this video right here. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.